Thanks, Abby. Welcome to the Tools for Frontline Staff session, fortnightly session support to bring together all those supporting residents who might be experiencing hardship in Hackney. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we're joined by a few colleagues who are going to present on their work, but we're also marking the end of my 5 years in this role and 3.5 years of this amazing session that's brought people together and been a real powerful force for good in supporting residents and changing our systems. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Lisa. Do you need any help with your slides, Lisa, or are you good with Google Meets?
Yeah, no, I'm good. And I actually haven't got any formal slides. I was just going to chat about our service and what we do, and then open up the floor if anyone's got any questions, if that's okay. Great. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa. I'm presenting to you today from Clean Slate Training and Employment, which is home to Quids In. We are a CIC, a not-for-profit organisation, and we've been in existence for nearly 20 years. We launched in 2006. And we, in a nutshell, we support people on low incomes with money guidance, budgeting and income maximisation, also employment and training, where that's relevant, and also digital skills when needed. And we do that through a variety of means, a variety of ways. We offer one-to-one support, and that can be either face-to-face or it can be over the phone. Pre-pandemic, it was entirely face-to-face. Obviously, there's a couple of years when it was over the phone or online, and now it's a combination of the two. And where we deliver that one-to-one support it's pockets in London, but it's constantly evolving, constantly changing because it's dependent on funding. But currently we are funded, and we're currently funded in Tower Hamlets, in Newham, in Waltham Forest. We've just had some funding announced in Lambeth and Croydon. We're places we have been in the past, but there's been a bit of gap of funding, but we're returning. And actually, we've just had news recently that we also returning to Hackney to a drop-in that we ran earlier this year. There's been a bit of gap in funding, but we're going to be back there probably as of, we think, the first week of January at the Mary Lloyd Centre. So that's our one-to-one support, and I'll come back in a minute to explain a little bit about how that works. We also run group workshops. We have one around budgeting and income maximisation, and we have another around employability and training, the latter being primarily aimed at people with barriers to employment or who are long-term unemployed. And it's quite a different, our employment support is quite a different approach to, it's quite unconventional, should I say. The focus is very much on people's passions, on what drives them, what their skills are, and we help people kind of hone in on what job they'd really like to do, what would matter to them and what works with their other commitments. So we have the one-to-one support, we have the group workshops, and then finally we have the Quids In magazines and guides, which some of you, I know Anna is aware of because I worked with Anna on a project before around loan sharks. But some of you may have seen. I'll show you a copy. It's deliberately, they look like this. They are deliberately tabloid in style, deliberately accessible. Quids In is a kind of generic money guidance magazine. It's quarterly. It's full of hints and tips and guidance around how to maximize your income and keep your bills and your costs down. But as I say, in a very kind of, often a lot of the subject matter is quite dry, but we make it really accessible by using celebrities and using kind of, quite succinct kind of short articles that kind of get the message across, but in quite a fun way. We also have more niche titles. So we have our Guide to Universal Credit for those who are claiming for the first time or migrating over. We've got a new tenants guide for those taking on a tenancy for the first time or moving house. We have a budget planner, which is more like a leaflet that people can write in. So it opens up as a wall chart and you can write in your income and your expenditure. And it talks through kind of what your priority bills and expenses should be. And we have another magazine that focuses on food, eating healthily on a budget, and another one on heat, light, power and water. So again, making sure that you're warm, you're able to cook food, but you're keeping your bills down. We also have e-newsletters, the Quids in Readers Club. So we've also got digital information, we have our websites, and we have various self-help toolkits. So our magazines, our guides, our information, our self-help toolkits, we see that as our kind of light touch support. I think that it's super useful. We have a very wide reach, and it's helpful for people who want to, who are able to use those tools, who are able to make some kind of behavior changes through absorbing the information, the guidance that we offer. But returning to the one-to-one support, which is obviously is more comprehensive. So the drop-ins that we run normally in community spaces, as I say, the drop-in that we're going to be running back in Hackney is from the Mary Lloyd Centre, which is an Age UK centre, but accessible and open to all. We tend to run a drop-in maybe like a few hours or half a day once a week. And that tends to be, again, quite light touch. We have a Quids in coach there who has the magazines available. They talk through the services available by Quids in, but also they can help with any kind of one-off or urgent inquiries, or they can refer into other services where that's needed. But what we also do at those drop-ins, it's like a kind of shop window for our service, is because we've explained what our comprehensive service entails, we encourage people to sign up for the more comprehensive support. And that tends to be 5 to 6 weeks, roughly kind of an hour to an hour and a half a week, over 5 to 6 weeks of comprehensive support, where we start with our Quids in Money Health Check, which is 25 questions, yes, no answers. But we use those questions, or we treat them like financial resilience indicators. And so basically by running through that quiz, it is like a personality quiz, really. It's to say only yes, no answers. We're not asking any kind of intrusive information at this stage, but it starts a conversation about money. It helps build up trust, and it helps the support worker identify where further help is needed. From there, it normally leads on to a benefit check, because one of the questions is, do you feel 100% confident that you'll get everything you're eligible for from the state? The reality is that most people say no to that. Not many people feel 100% confident they are. And so it normally leads on to a benefit check to make sure that people are getting everything they're eligible for, and then on to an income and expenditure plan. And then over the 5 to 6 week period, it's all about maximising income, bringing bills and reducing costs, and supporting with really whatever is needed to help the individual be more confident with managing their money, more resilient, and have the knowledge and the skills that are needed going forward. We always say people don't know what they don't know. So a lot of it is about is passing on the information and supporting people over that period. And then we run through at the end of the support, we run through the Quids in Money Health Check again, so we can literally kind of monitor the journey, the distance travelled, I guess, in terms of resilience. And because we see those 25 questions very much as financial resilience indicators, then we can see what improvements have been made over that time. We also measure all financial gains. We also measure all non-financial gains as well, and all of that is that anonymous data is then fed back to whoever's funded that particular project. We also, a couple of months later, not the Quids in coach, so not the support worker, but somebody else calls them up and survey, deliberately someone else, to encourage the person to be honest. They're more likely to be honest if it's not the person that supported them. And there we measure things like, we ask questions around, how valuable they found the support. Was the pace right? Did we go at the right pace? Was there anything else we could have included? Anything that we missed out? So it's all, for us, this is all about ensuring customer satisfaction, but also, continual improvement of our service. But we also at that point ask those kind of slightly longer term benefits. So, Do you feel like your confidence has improved? Do you feel like your family life has improved, and so on? So those kind of softer impacts, I guess, we gather at that point, and that's a few months later. So that's our kind of key service. Sometimes sometimes funders want a shorter service. So we do deliver sometimes that service as 2 to 3 weeks. And we have also, we've been commissioned in the past by DWP to support people with more complex needs. And so that service has been over 12 weeks. So the standard one is 5 to 6, but we're always flexible depending on the service we're delivering. So that is our kind of core service. We then also have our Elements program, and our Elements program is experts with lived experience. It's people who have accessed our service, who we have supported, can then, again, where funding allows, join our 12 weeks of training Elements program, which is whereby they have a lot of internal training to become a support worker or care worker through our own in-house training, which is incredibly comprehensive. Sometimes we have additional training so they can access external training at the moment outside of London, unfortunately, but we have access through the NHS, which is support work and mental health training. And we also offer paid work experience as well, so people can work for 3.5 hours a week at one of our drop-ins, whichever one is most accessible for them, and get some paid work, so some extra money, but also a current opportunity to add to their CV. And obviously just help improve with confidence and so on. I say this program is primarily aimed at people that haven't worked for a little while for whatever reason that might be. So that's our main service, and I just wanted to talk you through a little bit of the kind of impact for when we were last at the Mary Lloyd Centre. So we were funded previously to work at the Mary Lloyd Centre for 5 months, and it was earlier on this year. And our service was completely overwhelmed. So over that 5 months, and it was basically an allocation of 1 day a week. So it was half a day of a drop-in, so the kind of more light touch support where we talked to people about our service and dealt with maybe one-off inquiries. And then people could sign up for the more comprehensive support, which was appointment only in the afternoon. And over that 5 months of 1 day a week, so what's that, about kind of 20 sessions, almost 60 people we supported with a one-off inquiry and took away quids in magazines. 35 people had one comprehensive appointment where we ran through a money health check and a benefit check. And 22 people completed the 5 to 6 weeks of comprehensive support. And for those 22 people, actually 21 completed, the financial gains were on average £1,386 per person. So that was obviously a lot of additional money that was put in individuals' pockets. And that was through a combination of benefits that we identified that weren't being claimed, that we then supported the individual in claiming, also grants, also food bank vouchers, fuel bank vouchers, so on. We also help with we're not in the regulated debt space, but we help negotiate some reductions with utility companies. We also, some of the non-financial gains included improving relationships with landlords, again, starting talking to utility companies, assistance schemes, signposting to other support and services, and so on. So it was a real kind of mix of outcomes, with the financial average financial gains being 1,386. We also, as I say, because we run through the money health check at the beginning, at the end, we also measure the distance travelled, and some of the data from that. So in the one of the questions we ask at the start is basically, are you debt free or at least taking action on debt? This increased from people that said yes at the beginning to actually taking action, increased from 22% to 78%. So this is where we had referred into debt advice, or we'd helped them with kind of low level debt. In terms of people saying they felt more confident, everyone said they felt more confident in using devices. Everyone by the end said they had ID documents and they had a bank account that they were using. And in terms of feeling more confident that they were getting everything they were eligible from the state. At the beginning, this was only about half the people we supported, and by the end it was the full 100%, and those that were saving and planning ahead had increased from 22% to 78%. So all of that kind of just reflects an improvements in resilience, an improvement in kind of in longer term planning, and improvements in knowledge as well. So yeah, so I think, so we're starting back up hopefully the first week of January at Mary Lloyd. And as I say, we have other drop-ins in Newham, Tower Hamlets and Waltham Forest, and I can share all of those. But as I say, it's constantly changing because we have funding comes and goes. But that where we are at the moment, I can share.
Absolutely. Brilliant. It sounds like brilliant work, Lisa. Thanks so much for sharing it with us. And yeah, I guess it made me curious about what the kind of biggest barriers were that you were facing, and what members of this group might be able to support with, I guess, because it sounds like you're having some really you're doing some really impactful work. What are the things that are going less well, or that you could do with support with from either council services or other colleagues on the call? That, yeah, what's missing, or what's difficult, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not sure really. I think particularly across East London, I think we're very well connected with other services to refer into where needed, whether that's for food bank vouchers and so on. We work with Fuel Bank for fuel vouchers. I can't think of anything particular. I mean, I think most of our drop-ins, it's about just managing demand, particularly over the winter months. We've had experiences in Tower Hamlets over the last couple of winters where demand for our service has been so high, particularly over the winter months, that it's just about managing expectations, I think. And we're funded for a certain amount of staff, and sometimes it's just been about trying to manage those expectations. But at the moment across London, we've got a very small waiting list. I think we pride ourselves that if somebody refers into our service, so people that we meet through the drop-in, they immediately get signed up to access our comprehensive support, but people can also self-refer, and they can be referred in by other organisations on our website. And we pride ourselves in the fact that we will always get back to anyone referred within 48 hours, even if that's just to say, it'll be by the quids in coats, they'll be introducing themselves, they'll be, hi, my name's Susan, I'll be in touch, or let me know when is a good time for the first appointment. But we always reach out within that 48 hours. Otherwise, you lose the momentum.
And I guess with your capacity, with that kind of demand and capacity issue in mind, and the fact that this goes out to about 700 people, what do you need people to know about? I guess, how can we make sure that we don't just send loads of referrals to you, and that there's some reciprocity across the system of if we refer people to you and there are things you can't support them with? Thinking about,
I think just to be aware that, sorry
carry on. No, do
sorry. I think just to be aware that at the moment within Hackney, we are only funded for 1 day a week, and that's from the beginning of January. So that's 1 day a week, which and the priority will be those people that come and see us at the Mary Lloyd. So the people who come and see us at the Mary Lloyd, who then sign up, who hear about our comprehensive support and sign up to it, they will be our priority, because that's what we're funded to deliver. The funding is actually deliberately for Haggerston. It's a very specific area. So that will be the priority. If there's capacity outside of that, then we will support anyone that's referred into Hackney. But otherwise, we will get in contact, we'll reach out to them, we'll introduce ourselves, but then we'll just be upfront and say that they'll be added to a waiting list.
Great, that's helpful. Thanks so much, Lisa. Abby,
my advice would be to get in quickly, actually, in January, before the waiting list grows.
Good plan. Get those priority people.
Hi Lisa, good to see you again, and great to hear you'll be back in the Mary Lloyd, even though it's hard to hear as well, just a day a week, and that it's specific to Haggerston. You answered one of the questions I had, which was how we might all, if we know someone who might really benefit from this support, how we send residents that way, how we get them connected. So you answered that. The other question I had, and I'm looking around a few of the tiles on the screen and just seeing a lot of the diversity of Hackney represented here and the cultural diversity, especially and the language needs, the cultural background needs. How can you talk to us about the money coaches or the support that's available and the options for language or cultural appropriate support as well?
I mean, we do offer a lot of training around that as much as we can, but yes, language obviously can be a barrier. We did have a quizzing coach in East London who is a Bengali speaker. Unfortunately, she's recently left. So at the moment, yes, we don't have that. But we access, I guess, other services to help support with that where we need it. So yeah, we kind of get by as we can, but yeah, by accessing others, but I suppose other support that's available online, but also other services.
Great, thank you. Neil.
Hi, Lisa. I'm Neil. I'm the AD for Revenue, so the ugly side of the council, not just me facially, but the council's collection side. So do you have everything you need from Hackney in terms of council tax, who to contact, where to go? Because I'm conscious that we've done some work with some third sector parties, and my assumption of what they know and what they need is completely not right. So
Right.
if you want to reach out to me, if you're seeing a lot of people presenting with council tax arrears, we don't have a single view of debt team yet. That is an aspirational goal. Probably I would have retired well before that ever happens at councils. But yeah, I'll put my details in. If you want to reach out, and if there's a way we can work together to give you better access. So we're not expecting you to do our job, but you'll probably find you get a lot more interaction with the residents than we may get. So anything we can do to help you support them, if you reach out to us, we'll see what we can do in that space.
Yeah, amazing. If you could share your contact details, that would be great. And details around your council reduction scheme and so on would be really useful. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put my stuff in, and then I'll pick your email up and I'll email you those sorts of things separately. So
amazing.
What we've got in Hackney and what they do and where, without creating work for them, they won't love me for that, but where maybe, save you going around the houses, I guess, to get into the right place.
Yeah, amazing. That'd be really helpful. Thank you, Neil.
No problem.
Great, yeah. And just to say, Lisa, we've had really good feedback from the voluntary sector partners who've been working with Neil and his team on a kind of council tax escalation route, but also training for, and it was, very much led and co-designed with the VCS and those that are working within Neil's service. So there's a team that are working really well together across the system, continuing to sort of test and learn and play with different ways of trying to, collaborate on this. So,
amazing.
Yeah, definitely encourage you to get in touch there. I mean, there's so many stories of impact, Neil, from that work, isn't there? I don't know if you want to come in on that and share anything with the group. I think it's worth keeping alive the good news of these ways of working.
Oh, I'm probably not the best place because I sit at the top of the tree and do very little of the work involved in what's actually happened there. So
Jonathan's on.
I talk about it, but yeah, it's been really good in engaging. And I mean, ultimately, and we don't hide behind the fact it is, we want to get payment, but equally it's about, and the part you bring to at least from your organisation is getting residents to claim what they're entitled to, because half the battle is they don't, because they see us a big authoritarian council. There are assumptions that we know more than we do know about individuals. If you don't tell us, we don't know. So from our point of view, yes, there's a collection hat, but equally, if someone's entitled to something as simple as a single person discount, they maybe don't know about such things. So it's just educating that get all the discounts you can, and then you might be able to manage what's left. And if you can't, we do want to help. So there's very good news from it. And I think the biggest one is someone got rid of not just an air world. I think it was tens of thousands of debt got resolved because they just weren't claiming what they're entitled to. Yeah. A broad spectrum. So none of the credit. It's my team and other teams in the council that do all the work. But yeah, it'd be good to have another spoke in that, even if it's only one day a week while you're there, to sort of, we'll give you as much support as you need from us in that space. And if you don't need any, brilliant, but we'll be here to help as needed.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
Thank you. And Jonathan Lang, I know you're on the call. I don't know if you want to come in with any reflections to shout about that work, since we're on the subject of the work you've been deeply involved in and dealing with every day. Jonathan, hello.
I've just had a few days off, so I've had a complete brain wipe over the last few days, and I'm just trying to catch up emails.
Nice.
But yes, our escalation service has been live for a couple of months now, and it's a route into our Stop the Knock team, who will look at cases with a much more holistic, in a much more holistic way than perhaps a normal customer service person might do on the phones if you were to ring up, for example. So we will look at whatever issue has been raised, be it relating to benefits or relating to council tax specifically. They will make sure that if, for example, there's some urgent action required, like if there's a court date coming up, for example, or they've just been sent a final notice, we can put a hold on action straight away, and then look into the full details of whatever inquiry has been raised. We do signposting as well. We work closely with our Here to Help team, who provide access to discretionary funds, so we can move customers in that direction if necessary, or we can handle it ourselves. And we've got a record of the different services and voluntary sector organisations that are providing that sort of help. And so it might be an issue regarding council tax to start with, but if it turns out that actually they've had these various issues at home, maybe their fridge is broken down, we could even refer towards for white goods help, that kind of thing, all sorts. So we're just trying to we're trying to make sure that people are improve their circumstances, so it enables them to be able to then pay the council tax in due course. So there isn't this escalation service, and the best person to contact if you wanted to join it, because it is open to the voluntary sector, trusted partners, and you look like someone that should be trusted. So if you contact John Davis, so it's John Davis at Hackney, he'll be able to set you up and provide the access to a form that you need to complete, and that's how you gain access to the team.
Amazing. That's perfect. Thank you. I think John Davis, I think I was in contact with him about this meeting. So yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely. And Jonathan, that sounds like really satisfying work, actually being able to get stuff resolved for people quite quickly who really need it. It sounds like it must make a really big difference to your working day.
Well, yeah, for me, actually, it is. It's the only good stuff that I get to do.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I used to be a customer service person. And I've done absolutely everything apart from business rates, which Neil will be happy about. I don't get involved in that. But so I can see things from all sorts of angles. So I've dealt with people and tried to. Whereas now I'm on the enforcement side, I haven't forgotten where I've come from and all the things that I've learned and how to. I mean, at the moment, for example, I've just started another project to update all our formal notices that are sent out, which look scary and horrible. So we're trying to update all of those to encourage contact and give the message that we're here to help. We're not just here to collect money.
You mean to humanise public services, Jonathan, to make us more like human beings?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure I'll achieve it on my own, but anyway, I'll give it a go.
No, but you're in good company here. You've got lots of help here, haven't you, in the voluntary sector partners?
Yeah,
you know? So no, I'm really proud of the work. We're always here. Great to shout about it and connect more people with it, because the impacts are really life-changing. Hearing from the voluntary sector about what the difference would have been when they're faced with a letter and they just don't know what to do with it, and the impact obviously for those families and individuals is so huge. It really is having massive impacts on people's lives, and voluntary sector feeling able that they can do something about it. And we've got links, haven't we, between children's services as well with the escalation route. And I was just talking to Nick Porter-Ching, who I invited along to this meeting from the transformation team, and really excited that he's interested in learning from this work and building on it as part of their work on kind of neighbourhood working and prevention. So yeah, looking forward to seeing where it evolves into, and just really grateful for all the collaborative work on that, and for taking the risks that you did on jumping into such different kinds of ways of working together. But I won't hold up the next presentation unless, let's, was there any other questions? Sorry, I jumped in there and used that as a bit of an opportunity to connect things up too. But yeah, did anyone have any further questions for Lisa before we move on to Anna's presentation? Abby.
Sorry for dominating over here on the questions, but that money health check, Lisa, that's used by the coaches that residents would fill out initially, it's got what, 24 or so questions on it. I'm imagining a resident who maybe has 16 no's on that. What's the approach that the coaches take to prioritize and not overwhelm people?
Yeah, sure.
You know.
So sure. So the quizzing coach will always run through that quiz with the person, so then they're not left to do it alone. It does tend to lead to a much broader conversation. You know, it can take quite a while, the quiz, because every question can lead to, you know, it's just a yes no answer, but it can obviously lead to further discussion. And yes, for every no answer, at the end they put their email address in, and then they do receive an email. And so for every no answer, there's lots of hints and tips and guidance they get by email of kind of why it's important to change that to a yes answer, or why it might be that, or the reasons there might be why they've answered no to that, and then lots of guidance around how to convert it to a yes answer. So that's all there kind of in their inbox for them. But then it's really about the quizzing coach with the individual. All of our support it's very, you know, it's very much working, it's why we say coach, it's very much working together. It's very collaborative, it's completely non-judgmental, it's all about active listening, and so it's very much led by the priorities of the individual as well. So actually, you know, if they presented with us at the start and saying that, I know they're struggling to keep food on the table, for example, then obviously the priority is where we can kind of maximize that income, bring that additional money in, or initially, you know, offer a food bank voucher to kind of at least kind of give them a bit of headspace to start thinking longer term. Those sort of vouchers really do help with that, to give them that headspace, and then start looking at, you know, how we can maximize the income and bring costs down. So yeah, it's about working together collaboratively and working out what the priorities are of the individual, really, and being led by that. Yeah.
Thank you. Great. Any further questions or reflections from Lisa's presentation or the discussion around it before we move on to Anna? Thanks for your patience, Anna. Do you have any slides? Do you need any help presenting them?
I absolutely do need help presenting them, and that's why Daniel is here to help me.
Fabulous.
He took my panic attack away from me. If it's not Teams, I'm going to struggle, okay? So thank you, Dan, for helping out. Thank you for having me along today. It's a pleasure to be here to speak to you. I'm Anna, and I am the liaison officer for the England Illegal Money Lending team. And liaison stands for Lead in Awareness, Intelligence, Support and Education Officer. So it's a bit of a mouthful. But that's what it stands for. So if we could move on to the next slide, I will just give you a little synopsis for those of you who don't know me, and for those of you who are not yet aware of the team. We are a team who was implemented in 2004, lots of little offices dotted around the country. The little offices fell away. As of April 2011, the teams became national. So we have an England team, a Scotland team, and a Wales team. And our role is to identify, to arrest, and to prosecute illegal money lenders otherwise known as loan sharks. So we are a team of two halves, and we have a team of investigators. They come from a police and enforcement background. They cover intelligence building and court work. We have a team of liaison officers, and we all have a variety of backgrounds, not too dissimilar to what you guys hold in terms of your knowledge and experience. So what happens is that we work from every region. You can probably tell by my accent that I'm the London girl, but we have somebody dotted in every region across the country. Thanks, Dan. So what do? We investigate every report that comes into the team. You will be met by a trained investigator who will take the report, who will give you advice, who will give you guidance, and who will offer you support on the phone. We are a 24-hour service, and there is a whole realm of ways that you can contact us. You can contact us via the hotline 24 hours a day. You can contact us via live chat on our website. You can contact us via WhatsApp. You can send us an email. You can fill out an online reporting form. So there's many, many ways to report into us. And what I must reiterate is that you do not need to have proof or evidence of loan sharking, just a suspicion in order to contact our team. All the suspicions really help us to move things forward and raise awareness. Just like what you see on the TV, we will execute warrants. We'll turn up at the property first thing in the morning to get our evidence and to make the arrest. Now, as far as we're concerned, if you have needed to use a loan shark, you are absolutely, undeniably in need of all the support that we can provide. And that's why we provide a holistic support service to victims of loan sharks, because not one situation is the same. And so we pride ourselves on ensuring that every individual lead is looked at and a specific and individual support package is in place. We do not offer debt advice, but we want to work with the agencies and the organizations who do, so that we can signpost. Okay, we want to work really closely with alternative sources of credit. So we encourage people to join credit unions. We encourage people to explore CDFIs so that they can start to open up an account, that they can start to save small amounts, that they will soon be eligible for a loan, and so that they can repair their credit history, with the idea that they don't need to use loan sharks going forward. Next slide. So this is the issue. This is the issue, not for only where you work, actually, it's the issue for where you live potentially. The activities of illegal lenders not only damage the person, the victim, they damage the community in which they operate. There are at least 3 lenders per community. And I can promise you that once you are involved with a loan shark, soon enough, every penny of your income, regardless of how you get it, whether it's universal credit, whether it's PIP, whether you're employed, whatever it is, all of it will be going to that loan shark. And that's why it locks in and reinforces financial and social exclusion. We come across victims who are no longer paying their rent because the money's going to the loan shark. The loan shark debt takes priority. They are not paying legitimate bills like their credit cards, for example. They're not paying their electric bill or their gas bill. They don't have funds to put a weekly shop in the fridge. And so it becomes very, very, very detrimental. Now, it degrades quality of life. And when there is already an issue in an area like antisocial behavior or drug use or other types of criminality, we tend to find that loan sharking becomes really prevalent. It's spiked in these areas. Okay, so that's the issue for the individuals that we work with. Next slide. So how do you spot a loan shark? Because many people have images that they create in their thoughts, right? Baseball bats wielding thugs or gangsters in suits. That's the image. So when we ask people, how would you know that a loan shark is right in front of you? How would you know that this is a loan shark? People bear reference to the type of behavior, hence the baseball bat wielding thugs, and they have an impression on what they look like. And so we need to dispel that myth, okay? And the myth is that loan sharks are not the baseball bat wielding thugs, because I would ask you, if a baseball bat wielding thug approached any of you and says, I'm giving out cash loans, do you want to borrow some? I'm hoping and expecting that you guys will say, whoa, 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 you look far too scary. I don't want you near me. So they're never going to approach you like that. They're going to start off being charming and friendly. They want to offer reassurance. They want to build your confidence in asking them for that loan. They come in all shapes and sizes. Any ethnic group, you could be male or female, you could work in a group, you could work alone. There is no typical profile. And that's one of the most important messages that I want to leave you with today, right? Everyone in this forum right now is a typical profile of a loan shark, right? Not to offend anybody, but you all fit the bill in terms of how you look. So that's who you look out for. You look out for who looks like your colleague, who looks like your friend, who looks like the person at the gym, who looks like the person in the bingo hall, who looks like the cashier behind the till at the supermarket. There is no typical profile. So just be wary of that. We come in all shapes. I said we just then, didn't I? They come in all shapes and sizes. Thank you, Dan. Next slide. So this is the loan shark definition, just to be very, very clear. A person who, not being the holder of a license, lends money in the course of a trade or business and charges interest, especially at an exorbitant rate. So let me break that down for you. In order to lend money to anybody, you must have permission to do so from the Financial Conduct Authority. Every bank, every building society, every payday lender, every credit union, they all have permission to lend. If you do not have permission to lend from the Financial Conduct Authority, you are treading in very murky water. Now, when we say lending in the course of a trade or business, what we mean is that you must be lending to two people or more. It's incredibly difficult to prove that you're operating as a business if you're only lending to one person. So it must be two people or more. And lastly, you absolutely must be charging interest. If somebody gives you a cash loan of £1,000 and they ask you back for £1,000, there is no issue, even if they don't have permission to lend. The issue is the interest. So the moment somebody gives you a cash loan of £1,000 and asks you back for 1,500, then that's evidence of interest, and that equates to extortion. Okay, so if you do not have permission to lend from the Financial Conduct Authority, you lend to two people or more, and you charge interest, you are a loan shark. It has to be all three, not one out of the three, not two out of the three. It has to be all three. And the legislation that we use to prosecute is running an unauthorized business under the Financial Services and Market Act 2000. That's the legislation we use to prosecute. Thanks, Dan. Next slide. So, friend or foe? Many victims actually believe the loan shark to be a friend at the point of borrowing, right? Most lenders, they want victims or borrowers to believe that they are friends. So people often say, I really thought that this was my mate. I can't believe how they started to treat me. I can't believe how they behaved after the loan was exchanged. So this is just an indication of the thought processes behind some of the borrowers, right? It was handy at first, I didn't have to go through the issue of applying to the bank. I knew the banks would say no. I knew that my credit history would be poor. I had no alternative. There's countless reasons why people use loan sharks, but some of them did believe the loan shark to be their friend. Thank you, Dan. Next slide. So we commissioned the Centre for Social Justice to carry out research for us. And in 2023, after extensive research, it was determined that there was 1.8 million households using loan sharks. And these are the ones that we know about. The issue with loan sharking is that it is notoriously well hidden. It's happening under our very noses, and we don't know it's happening because people don't know how to spot the signs, and people do not know how to report safely. And that's one of the reasons I'm here today, to say, hey, we do exist. We are here. We want to work together so that we can identify the extent and the nature of loan sharking that could be happening in your borough. Okay, next slide, Dan, please. So how do you know that your clients are involved with a loan shark? How would you know? And these are some of the typical trends. People have an unexplained loss of their income. People suddenly can't afford to pay their bills or meet their obligations and responsibilities. People tell you that they've got loans, they've got debts, they've got other commitments to pay, right? So ask them, show me the paperwork. That's the quickest and surefast way, because 9.5 times out of 10, there is no paperwork. A contract is not given, a contract is not signed. If you had a legitimate loan, you would have evidence of that, right? It becomes suspicious when there is no paperwork. Remember, loan sharks, their intention is to keep you trapped in a cycle of debt while not having any evidence that you are involved with them. Okay, now don't get me wrong, some loan sharks have given paperwork, have given contracts, but you briefly cast your eye over it and you know that's not legitimate, right? It will say things like, if you don't pay, you agree to sexual favors. If you don't pay, and nothing that any ethically or morally guided institution will put in their paperwork. No receipts for payment, no repayment books. Because a loan shark debt is illegal, it makes the debt unenforceable. Loan sharks know this. That's why they will always use violence, intimidation, and blackmail as a means to get their money. They have no moral compass. They have no ethical stance. So they lend to anybody, including school children as young as 13. Can a 13-year-old repay a debt? No, they're at school. So what happens? They get themselves involved in county line offences. They become drug runners for the loan sharks and other types of scenarios. Borrowers are forced into crime because they are now under the control of the loan shark. Loan sharks may take illegal securities, your jewellery, your passport, right? Your wedding ring, that type of scenario. You hear of a loan shark through word of mouth. They do not advertise, okay? You're not going to pick up your local newspaper and find a section that says, I'm a loan shark, right? And so we have to look out for that. Thank you. Next slide, Dan. Next one. And again, right, okay. As of late, we've had to cover up the faces of the loan sharks, in all fairness to the individual, if and when they complete their prison sentences. So this is just an example. Next slide, please, Dan. This is just an example of the type of behaviour. So this particular loan shark, he told one debtor that he would break his legs and bury his dead body in the garden. He also told somebody that he would put them in a wheelchair if they didn't make repayments. So these are some of the behaviours that will help you identify why your clients are not going to volunteer the information. right? If you have been threatened with violence or you are the actual victim of violence, you're too scared to come forward. You're too scared to share. And that's why we need you to tease information out simply by asking the question. Next slide, please. This guy we call him the Snapchat lender, right? And we call him the Snapchat lender because what a brilliant way to threaten people. You will post a message and within 30 seconds, that message has disappeared. It's great, right? No evidence left behind. This individual, he charged 100% interest on his loans. So if he gave you £1,000 on the 1st of Jan, on the 1st of Feb, you had to give him back £2,000, right? There is no rhyme or reason to how loan sharks equate their payments. He told one debtor that he would burn their house down if they didn't repay £7,000 on a £1,000 loan. Next slide. Keep going. Right, I won't go through all the kind of individuals who are loan sharks because I can do that for the rest of the week, right? Let alone this session. But loan sharks, they are everywhere. They're not just the dodgy looking person on the corner of the street. They're not the kind of dodgy looking individual sitting in the pub. They are everywhere, including social media, right? And so social media has become a tool to attract borrowers to certain individuals, right? People may advertise a kind of service. We had an example where someone will be advertising mobile phones, and if you kind of engaged with them, suddenly it became a loan sharking scenario. Okay, people are placing themselves in betting shops so that they can see who's losing, so they can offer them more money, feeding into individual addictions, right? And so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media regime is out there, loan sharks are lurking. And so that's a really important message to get out to everybody in terms of be suspicious of who is friend requesting you, etc. Next slide, Dan. Thank you. And again, wonderful. So I'm not going to drill down too much on stats, but just to say that the main reason for borrowing was everyday living costs. Now, that's absolutely heartbreaking because when it comes to sudden and unexpected expenditure, we understand that. Because cost of living has been rising for decades. People's salaries have not been rising in line with inflation. What you used to get in a whole shopping trolley for the same kind of money, you're now getting a small basket, right? Fuel prices through the roof, gas prices through the roof, everything through the roof. And so it is no wonder that people are turning to loan sharks just to put a weekly shop in their fridge. Getting to and from work is an enormous amount of money, right? And so people are borrowing to top up their Oyster cards. People are borrowing to give the kids lunch money for school. So everyday living cost is a problem. People are living paycheck to paycheck, right? And unable to save. So when sudden and unexpected expenditure does happen, people don't have the tools or the means to replace your cooker that's broken down. This is an essential item that individuals need. The median loan amount borrowed around £2,000. What's interesting is that 35% of victims had debt advice, but none of them told their advisor about the loan shark situation. And more interestingly, the advisors didn't ask, right? And that's one of the reasons we're here today. Shame, embarrassment, pride are key factors where people are not going to volunteer. right? They are being traumatized and re-traumatized, right? They don't volunteer information. And that's why we need you all going forward to simply ask the question, do you know what a loan shark is? Right? And let them flow with the information. That's all we need from you. This is what a loan shark is. That's all we want from you going forward. Next slide, please, Dan. I always stick this quote in my slides because it's so powerful and gives you the real indication of the feeling and the experience of the victim. It's a vile thing to have hanging over your head. It's like being stuck in a never-ending hellhole of recycling money. That is their experience. So you are not going to get people contributing to their council tax. You are not going to get people contributing to their rent. You are not getting people contributing to the things that are important, because the loan shark debt is sucking the life out of that individual. Next slide, please, Dan. Just to say that 2/3 of victims went without food, fuel, or paying a priority bill in order to pay the illegal moneylender. Next slide, please. Just some indications. And again, because I'm not going to bore you with the stats, we don't have enough time. But it is interesting to say, when I talk about that never-ending cycle, you can see that the longest term a borrower had been repaying a loan shark in 2023 was for 16 years. It started off as a £75 loan, and 16 years later, they are still paying, right? One borrower borrowed £25,000 and paid back £99,000. Okay, so these are just some indicators. Next slide, please, Dan. Remember, I just told you that victims of loan sharks, they are experiencing trauma, stress, anxiety, low mood, and depression. And the only way that we can get people to share information about their experiences is by, using our assertive listening skills. And I know this is teaching to suck eggs, right? But the first encounter is the most important encounter. The congruency, the rapport that we build up, that's what counts in the first instance. We will have in handouts, so I will make sure that everybody gets a brief intervention slide just to help you open up the conversation with the people who you come across. Next slide, Dan. So if somebody says they've borrowed from a friend, move forward, Dan. That's it. If somebody says they've borrowed from a friend, listen out for that word friend. They're trying to be evasive. They're not talking about their bank manager, because a bank manager is nobody's friend, right? They're not talking about their mum, otherwise they would use that terminology. I owe my mum some money. And surely family members don't instigate you not paying your legitimate debts. So listen out for that word friend. Ask if the friend is lending to anyone else. Why is that important? Because remember earlier I told you that you must be lending to 2 people or more. So the moment they say, yeah, my mate Fred has got a loan as well, now you know that that's 2 people. Now your spider senses should be tingling and you should be getting ready to call our team. Does the lender take them to the cash point as a favor, which is a typical trait? Again, no legitimate person is going to do that. Can you imagine a bank manager saying, right, I'm going to meet you on blah, blah road. I'm going to take you to the cash point. No legitimate person is going to do that. Does the friend come around? Once upon a time, we did have a doorstep lender called the Provident. The Provident is no longer in existence. There should be nobody coming to your property to get back loan amounts. There should be nobody coming to your place of work to get loan repayments. There should be nobody waiting for you outside the job centre to get loan repayments. That is no legitimate person. The point that I'm making is, if you ask these questions, with the response, you will absolutely have a suspicion as to whether this person is involved with a loan shark or not. That's all you need to do. Next slide, Dan. We've got an app. We've got a Stop Loan Sharks app. Feel free to download it. Go to our website, download it. It tells you all of our activities, everything they were doing. It tells you when an arrest has been made. It will tell you when we're in your area. It will give you some useless information, okay? So that's the Stop Loan Sharks app. That's really useful that you can download. Next slide. Just to end by saying, we're really good at what we do, right? And that's not just my ego talking, right? Loan sharks hadn't been identified or arrested for more than 20 years prior to the arrival of our team. So they walked around with this bravado that they was untouchable. As soon as our team came into place, we started targeting and achieving real success. So now we have secured over 600 years worth of custodial sentences. We have supported 33,000 victims. We have written off debt to the tune of £91 million. That's money victims would have had to pay had we not stepped in and removed those lenders. So we're really, really proud of our success stories, because it has freed people from crippling debt. And now people can contribute in the areas that they're supposed to. Next slide. As I said before, there's many ways that you can contact us via our website, via WhatsApp, via live chat, etc., etc. I will make sure that you have access to my contact information. And I think the last slide is the last slide. Is that right, Dan? Yeah, nothing worth seeing there, just who I am. So I've actually done really well in trying to condense my time down, because I normally talk for 3 hours. So give me a round of applause on that one, right? But anyway, I'm really pleased that I was able to kind of get that out in the time frame that I was able to get it out. And that is just a really short synopsis.
Yeah,
right?
amazing.
All of our services are completely free of charge. All our leaflets, our posters, our flyers, our our business cards, just drop me an email, say would like this to put up in our notice boards, and we will get you everything. I will come along, I will raise awareness sessions, I will deliver presentations. The team is there to support you completely free of charge. What we want is to work together so that we can identify and put measures in place that's going to benefit everybody that you come across.
Amazing, brilliant presentation. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
I know that lots of people are going to be taking this back to their teams and sharing and getting in touch. So really appreciate you sharing all of that with us today.
Wonderful.
Yeah, any questions? I think that, was it Mimi had her hand up? Mimi from Congolese Women? No. Hi, Mimi.
Hi,
Good to see you on the call.
Mm.
Yeah, does anyone, I mean, that was really comprehensive, and it's a lot to take in, isn't it? Maybe, I guess I was just sort of sitting with a lot of feelings after hearing that.
Yeah,
or others are, and of course with Lisa's presentation, just we're all aware in our different places of what is happening for people at the moment. But I guess there's just it's so painful, isn't it, to confront the reality of what we're all grappling with and what residents are facing, and so anything that we can do to work together to support those residents is as relationally as possible. Shahidul, do you mind if I share this, or do you want to come in?
Oh yeah, happy to.
Brilliant.
Share it. But it was just a case that I dealt with in a previous role where someone came to us and her partner had borrowed from a loan shark, and then they split up. He had a gambling problem, and then he left the property, and then when she came to us, it took us a while to get her to build up trust and stuff. And then she mentioned the loan sharks, and she said they showed up to her school, children's school. So she was basically paying the loan shark debts off, so they can target family members if the other person splits. So we did refer her to the illegal money lending team. But by that time I had left. But yeah, so it can affect the whole household of people living in the property as well, because if that person might go to their family members and say, look, I borrowed from this person, I can't afford to pay you back, and everyone chips in and stuff like that. Or if it's a domestic situation and the partner leaves, then the other person is left because they know where you live. And in that case, the chilling thing is they showed up to the school to tell her that your partner owed us this money.
Yeah.
So it can get very dangerous.
Absolutely. And you've just described our challenges. So in the presentations that I deliver, this was just a snapshot. We absolutely cover everything that you've just mentioned, the impact on the family, the consequences, what might happen, what often happens, what that looks like, how we kind of remedy it. So yeah, we do cover all of those scenarios in our rather awareness raising sessions. So yeah, that's an unfortunate scenario that an innocent person faces, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other thank you, Batia, for your comment in the chat. Some of the slides didn't meet the readability standards, and just some feedback from Batia. Beverly in the chat there.
What does that mean?
Do you want to come in, Batia? I don't know if you can speak right now.
I'm not sure. Sorry to be naive. I'm not sure what the readability standards mean.
We have talked about it in this session before, so we may be able to send you the presentation where Batia actually presented on it really helpfully to inform us about our presentations in terms of readability for those who may have difficulty in reading certain texts and colours because of their own sort of neurodiversity or needs that need to be accommodated when we're sharing information.
Sure. So apologies for that. I was thinking about the graphic content that may cause some harm to people. I understand. Apologies for that. We are actually kind of working on presentations and how that's received by others. So hopefully we should be able to find something that's suitable for standards going forward.
Yeah, thank you. So are there any other questions? If there are not, then I'd love to make a link into a sort of the sort of final item on the agenda. Any further questions for Anna, or everyone happy to get in touch? I guess being my last Tools for Frontline Staff session, and I don't know whether we want to stop the recording if people feel more able to engage in this without the recording on. Do you want to put your hand up if you would like to stop the recording? No, everyone's happy. Okay, great. If you're happy for us to continue. So I guess I really wanted to just sort of reflect on the impact of these sessions. And I suppose thinking, Anna, about your presentation about that stark reminder really of the importance of giving time in those conversations with residents to really asking the right questions and taking the time to build the relationships. And we know how important that trusted relationship is. In this space, we've so often reflected on that and been thinking a lot about that. You know, how do we build the trust with those residents that are furthest away from our services, and work with those that have those trusted relationships to really strengthen the ways that we can work together in ways that are more trauma-informed and compassionate and anti-racist and strengths-based and essentially more human across all of our systems. And I guess this space has been a really important part of how we've collaborated across the system to really learn from each other about the strengths of what each other does, and to sort of strengthen our practice and kind of understanding of the system so that we can help make sense of it for residents. In my role in the policy and strategic delivery team over the last 5 years, we've really taken the learning from the pandemic, and particularly those who are supporting residents furthest away, to try to understand what our role as a council needs to be, and how we can use the deep and rich insight from trusted relationships in the communities to shape the new services and systems that might better be able to support people holistically. And I just, with that in mind, I guess I wanted to invite anybody in this space who's been involved in any of the work that that sort of links to this sort of more collaborative cross-sector work that's been about collaboration across the system to support residents furthest away, whether it's been through this session or other pieces of work that our team or other bits of the system have been involved with. If you want to add any reflections in the chat, or if you want to share any stories or memories of the work and the impact of the work, I think I guess there's something in gaining strength in the collective to take action together and to work out what the most useful action might be for people, and really unlock and unconstrain the people that are in the work, working with people, and have the relationships to be more creative and more collaborative, and have space for deepening those relationships where you can get past the defensive barriers between our services that so often get in the way. So yeah, just an open invitation for anyone to share any reflections, I guess, on how collaboration and these ways of working have been helping you. We had some helpful reflections from Jonathan and Neil on the work, but yeah, anything anyone wants to share? No, that's okay. What I will do in that case is just share a couple of slides that I put together for a presentation trying to articulate what I thought I'd learned in this role through this work about change. And I'll just take it back, sorry, is that I started off as a social worker in Hackney, working with families in the child protection system. And so I suppose my journey, much like all of you on this call being here today, is that I've learned a lot from direct work with people facing hard times that's taught me what's wrong with the systems and why, the impact of the systems that we currently have and what they do to people and what they do to the people trying to support them. So a lot of the work we've been doing, and I suppose that the learning so far has been that by breaking down barriers across silos, like this session is really intended to do, we can enable the sort of trusted relationships between frontline staff that can really help us to learn from one another and build those relationships deeper so that we can work better together. And by doing that, we identify points of influence where we can build coalition across kind of really cross-cutting important things like supporting people around debt who might be evicted and might have huge, with heartbreaking consequences for families. And that can then lead to deeper relationships where we can begin to sort of co-produce and convene and be more creative and test and learn and experiment together. And it's those experiences of working together that can help us to shift power and really shift our thinking in the ways that we work together. And so some of the reflections for me was that in direct work with residents who are struggling, a good relationship provides a reparative experience of relating that helps to make change possible. So Anna, I think, really made that point, that actually that deeper relationship, that's where people can really feel that they can trust that person to be able to share something that might really make a difference in their lives. And so relational trauma requires relational repair. When we've had really traumatic experiences within relationships, it takes good relationships and a more consistent experience of good relationships to build trust in a person or a system that might have let you down. And strong collaborative relationships between those supporting individuals and families are often fraught, but when we work together and in partnership, they can be truly transformational. I've seen that in working to support children in networks of core groups and child protection conferences and all the rest of it, where you safeguarding children. And I've seen that in system change work across our systems, and I've seen how we can really make a difference if we work together and make space for relationships. And the experience of supporting people to navigate systems that don't work is really frustrating, and it just doesn't feel possible to influence the change needed. So you have loads of great ideas, you know exactly what might make the difference. They might be small bureaucratic process things, or they might be, if only I had a better relationship with them or knew what they did, or if only I knew where I could refer to. and that can be really frustrating and disempowering. And actually, we much prefer to be able to help people with a multitude of things than feel like we have to say, I can only do my bit. And that can really, there can be a huge impact emotionally on that for those who are in the work. So taking time to create the conditions, which doesn't feel possible often in our fraught systems and overstretched services, but taking the time and prioritising the conditions where we can listen and learn and work with each other more meaningfully in partnership, and for those and with those that we're working for. It's much harder, it takes time, but we know that the resulting work is more meaningful and sustainable. We experience it in the frontline work, so we can also experience it in the work between our services. And that when we have a positive experience of relating across boundaries, like Jonathan and Neil have, and the voluntary sector organisations that now don't hate the council quite so much because they've had a really positive experience of getting help for the people that they're working with quickly, that gives us courage. And particularly when there's a power imbalance, it takes time. When there's been trauma in that relationship between services over time, it can take a lot of time to rebuild that trust and those relationships, and so prioritizing that feels really important. And then in that space where you have those conditions where you can be really human and be really honest about the problems rather than being defensive about what our service does and how brilliant it is, then it becomes possible to actually develop new ways of thinking and working together, and experimenting and really unlocking the creativity and the ideas that we know you all have. So those are some of my reflections, I guess. Last one, and that by doing that and working together, we can also get really rich insight through those deeper relationships with residents, and the stories of real impact hold power and can help shape policy, service design and strategic work. But it really is about building a coalition and winning over hearts and minds to new ways of thinking. And that takes repetition and the right person or moment. In my experience, I suppose there's been hope and magic in noticing the soft power and influence that can happen when someone or something shifts and things start to move. And I'll stop presenting there. And I don't know if anyone has any sort of reflections or thoughts on that. That's just been a bit of a capture of, I wrote that a couple of years ago for a presentation, and I don't think I've moved much further along other than getting more into the realm of thinking about collective imagination and social imagination. Jake, who's been somebody who's really inspired my thinking in what do we do next? So I don't know if you want to come in, Jake, on that. You don't have to. No, we can't hear you. Or is it just me? Oh no. Can anyone else hear Jake? No. Oh no. Oh, what a shame.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's not deliberate, Jake?
You really don't have to go in, but we can also share bits in the you're going to put something in the chat. Oh, that's such a shame. Google Meets, it can be
Oh, say something. No,
it's not happening. Does anyone else want to share something while Jake's working out his tech? Does any of that resonate?
absolutely. It absolutely does resonate, indeed. As I was navigating along, I was like, yes, I relate to that. It's all relative. It's so relative to everyday practices, that regardless of what realm you're coming from in terms of organization or delivery, everything kind of encompasses together. So that was useful, actually.
Oh, thank you. Glad it resonates. And I guess the learning's been through this group, this group, the relationships in this group and all the relationships connected to it. And I think of it as this huge web that we connect more and more to one another, and that those connections will outlive the organizations that we're situated in some, as things crumble, as things are not funded, the relationships sustain. And there's something really important there, I think. Sorry, Batia, you have your hand up. Please do come in. Or I think you had an issue with your mic as well, didn't you? So I don't know if you want to share something in the chat if you can't unmute yourself. The
Yeah,
connection has been enormous.
Batia has asked if she can drop something in the chat.
Yes, yeah, the connections have been enormously helpful. Thank you so much, Batia. And I guess we just never know the ripples from our work, really. We never truly know whether, in our work supporting somebody individually or influencing systems, we never quite know the true value or impact of the work. But there's something where I think we just feel it and we know it when it's really made a difference, where we've, connected something up that might not have. And we've, thank you so much, Monica. Right, well, it is 5:30. It is 5:30. I am going to probably link a slide deck with some of my reflections in the newsletter. And Jake, any luck with your mic?
I think it's working now.
Oh, it is now. We can hear you now.
Before we sign off, thank you though. Yeah, for those who are leaving, but please do come in. I'd really love to hear.
Well, I mean, listen, this is the first one that I've been to. I really appreciate the invitation, Jenny, and like what a testament to all of your work that all of these people are here sharing, and that sense of like relational working, like we all work in actually quite different worlds in different ways, but often perhaps with the same people. And so just creating a space where people can talk and share just feels incredibly valuable. Yeah, I mean, let's hope everyone can keep it going when you're not hosting them anymore. It feels essential.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope the group feel ownership of the group too. The council only need to set up a Google Meets link and you can run it, so it's never really been about us holding the space, but we really hope it continues. I think it's increasingly hard to make time for the relationships we need to sort of prioritize, but I guess my wish and my my wish for you all is that you can keep making the space that you are. And I just thank you all for the awesome work that you do, and keep coming back to this space. I know our team, and we'll always attempt to be here. And I think that's one of my other reflections, is that all through the pandemic, our food partners and other people in communities were supporting people. Even when they didn't have food, they were there. And there's something really important. I've fed back to the Food Network as well, that when we were holding our Food Network, there were often times when we couldn't give funding, we couldn't give any support as a council, just the same as with this, we can't solve poverty or cost of living crisis or any of that, but, even though we have these teams that say we do stuff to do with that, there's no way we can meet it. But I think what I learned was that actually we just need to be present, even if we haven't got. It's just about being here. And there were times when I retreated from doing this session because we had no one to present. And it was actually one of our politicians who said, no, you just have to show up. And actually that's borne out the whole time. We just show up. We may not have the answers, but if we can hold these spaces. Thank you so much. And Ngozi's one of our superstars, working at Homerton Hospital as a poverty coordinator, making the links between the hospital teams and the teams in the council to support residents. So there's been so much. This has been a kind of one-stop shop for people to come back to. And I'm pretty sure that someone from the council will always be present and will attempt to bring in the right people that can support it. But it's been amazing working with you all. And I think I should probably close the meeting. But
thank you so much, Jenny.
Massive thanks and best of luck with everything. You're all my heroes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take great care.
Yeah. Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was a great presentation too. Thanks, Anna. It was fun.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Lio, for coming. It has been an interesting journey, hasn't it? Thanks, Chippy. Great to see you, Gemma. And Zima. Bye, everyone.